last week, that was a fun game to go to. I haven't been over to your place before, so it was just neat. Not many football fields have a big wind turbine right beside them.
Forgot to
But
warn you about that, sorry.
no, you're good. We were looking at some pictures before we were going over there, and we're like, this is like some Final Destination type stuff over here. Like, what can happen like during a game, and you know. But can you just tell me, with this group of kids, what can you tell me about the position they put themselves in for fighting for a shot to play for a regional title?
Well, it started a long time ago. I always look back to last year in December when we kinda hit it hard in the weight room, and you could tell then they had the work ethic and the drive to get to a point like this. Now, obviously, you never know going into the season how things are gonna shake out. We knew we had some guys that, were talented, but the big thing was how could they come together as a team and play together as a team? That's something that we've seen progress as this year's gone on. I always say, like, you don't have to be best friends with everybody on the football team, but you better care for them when it comes down to it. And I think they truly care about their teammates, and they want to help the team the best they can. Got a lot of guys that accept their roles and don't complain either, and that's a great thing to have. It's a lot of good traits that are not only going to help them in the football field, but in life after high school.
Yeah, and it seems like the biggest thing in general in life is like having good communication. So, how would you say that is within the players and the coaching staff?
It's good. I think for our guys, all we harped on. I think early this year, our first three games we were lacking at. We knew that. We were letting up a lot of points, making a lot of mistakes, and we still have those mistakes at time. But I don't think it's always due to a lack of communication. The players do a great job though of kind of controlling that in the practice, and you practice how you play. And I feel like our coaching staff does a very good job working together. We're hard on each other, but we're in it for the right reasons and to make sure that these kids are having a good experience.
Last week was something different because you guys earned this yourselves a bye week, which was a first for the playoff format. So, what was it like preparing for last week's game for 2 weeks, really?
Yeah, it was a little different, but somebody asked me the question as well. What did you think of it after the fact? Well, obviously, it worked out well for us, and I don't know. It depends on the group of kids you have, what type of injuries you have going on. It was good for us to get not just our legs fresh and heal up with injuries, but mentally fresh and refocus, for hopefully a long playoff run. That's our goal. But we take it week by week, and I think our kids did a good job handling it. I think I told you last week though, it was later in the week, it was tough, to keep focused when you knew you didn't have a game. And I think that was the big thing for us. How could we handle that focus level? And I think as a whole, our guys did a good job. It just was a little frustrating towards the end of the week when you didn't have competition to prepare for.
Right. And it kind of seemed like just throughout the whole state that it was a positive impact on the first four seeded teams. Now, I know it's probably something to look at after the season on how beneficial it was, but kind of what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. The first time around when we had the choice between 12 and 16, I chose 12. Um, I wasn't a huge fan of 16. I just think it watered it down a bit, and if you're a top 8 seed, it depends though. There's been some teams with some upsets. I get it. I
Right.
understand. But you got to look at the statistics as a whole. And I don't know. The more I think about it, I think eight's good, but look at our region right now. You have some teams that are outside the top eight that are fighting for a chance at a regional championship berth.
Yeah.
So it's worked out. It's one of those things. We got to see how it progresses year by year. But as a whole, I'm glad we did it. Maybe I think differently. If we were, it
Right.
just depends. Again, it's situational based on your team.
Yep. Looking back at last week's game, what stood out to you and leading you guys to being successful? And just to point it out, every offensive drive that you had, you scored.
Yeah, our message the whole week, 2 weeks leading into this game was we need to come out fast. We can't come out slow. And it's not just after a bye week. We've struggled with coming out slow in some games, especially earlier in the year. It took us a quarter to kind of figure it out, and then we started rolling. You can't do that this time of year. There's too many good teams around. So how quickly can we get on the board, and stop them? And then the big thing was how do we treat the 4 minutes going into halftime and the 4 minutes after halftime. That was a challenge for them. We talked about it. We were able to score in those last 4 minutes going into halftime, get a stop at the very end,
Yeah.
and then we were able to score right out of the gate in the third quarter, which I think that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game that we can finish this thing. So I think that was critical for our success. You know, our defense, let up some yards, but they didn't break. They let up a couple touchdowns here and there, but as a whole, good teams like that are going to score. It's one of those things. They will score. You just need to limit their big playability.
Yep. And then another thing I've noticed is the turnovers you're able to force. And it seemed like you've been able to execute on turning the ball over a lot this season. So what does that say about the defensive play?
Yeah, it's we got some guys that get after the ball. That fumble that was forced was just a late second guy getting there, putting his hand right in the right spot. We spent a lot of time on it though. It's one of those things that we harp on throughout the week, not just on a bye week. It's been one of those things that we always rep it. A couple days a week. How are we going to force turnovers? How are we going to get our hand on those balls, tip them up, and give us a chance? And I think a big thing too is just getting pressure on the quarterback and making him feel uncomfortable. That really helps to force turnovers on the defensive side.
I want to get into this game this week. You got to travel on the road to Bascom to play Hopewell-Loudon, and they seem like they're locked in. They kind of had a similar game like what you guys had last week. Came out and had a very dominant performance against a Western Reserve team that beat a good Bluffton team. Um, what do you like between you guys and Hopewell? Seems like it's a very similar matchup. Hopewell's coach said that it's kind of like looking in a mirror. So what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I look at them and you just look at their scores across the season. It's been impressive what they've done. They score a lot of points. They don't let up many points. So they do a good job, and that you can tell they're good athletes, well coached. They make very few mistakes. It's one of those things. They do not shoot themselves in the foot, and that's for the most part. I would agree. We haven't done that for the majority of the year. In our couple losses, we did. And that's key for us. We cannot make mental mistakes that cost us. But have the utmost respect for Coach Truglio, what they're doing over there. Every single year they have 10 plus wins. That's unheard of. So we're excited for this challenge. It is going to be a challenge for us. Every week it just gets harder. That in the playoffs. So
Yep.
we got to deal with a long bus trip. And our focus level is going to have to be an all time high. But I think we've been on some trips like this before, and it's one of those things that I know our guys gonna be ready to go, and I know they're gonna be ready to go. It's set up for a beautiful Friday night too, another 60-degree night,
Right.
and we're just excited to see what we can do.
Yeah, it's gonna be very exciting. One of the biggest things coming into this game is the battle of the trenches. What do you like about your guys going against this Chieftains line when on defense? I mean, they shut the run game down.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about. They have done a great job of slowing teams' rushing attacks all year long. And for us, these are the moments we prepare for. It's games like this that you work so hard all season long for. Teams like this, you get one chance to do it. And that's big. And we've talked about our preparation. It's got to be at an all-time high this week. And we've done a good job so far. It's how can we finish this week now? But I think for us. We're going to have to. We're probably giving up a little size in some spots. It's how bad do these guys want it up front for us? And I've challenged our offensive line lately. I've been pretty hard on them because they're going to take us as far as we can go. And we got the right group of guys to do it. I'm excited for them. I'm excited to show what they can do.
Facing this Hopewell team, they have 2, 3 backs that they could run, and they got a couple receivers that they can rely on off of a good quarterback. Um, with you guys facing it every day in practice, do you think it benefits you, like kind of seeing it already, and your defense practicing against your offense will be beneficial for Friday?
Yeah, to an extent, I will never say that we can run their offense like they do. They're good at what they do. But I feel like our guys do a good job getting us ready for Friday nights. And that's about one thing I've really been impressed with since the beginning half of the year. They've really bought into the scout team approach, like giving us the best possible look and getting me frustrated when I'm going against a scout team defense. That's a good thing. That's what gets you ready for the pressure situations on Friday night. So, and it's a lot of those guys that don't get the credit that they deserve. They're getting us ready for what's going to happen on Friday. The best they can. I'm not saying it's a perfect simulation, but I've been impressed with that so far. But yeah, it's good to go against a lot of guys across the board that can make plays on our team. But again, Hopewell-Loudon, I'm not going to take anything away from them. They have some great players, and we're not going to simulate it perfectly. We're just going to have to make plays on Friday night.
So for your team, going into this late into the season, you kind of got a younger crew, and you're facing against this Hopewell squad who's got experience coming into week 13. What can you say about the preparation on your side as a coach into preparing your team into facing a team like Hopewell who has had recent experience coming into this game?
Yeah, we can't simulate late playoff runs. It's been a couple years since we've been this far in the playoffs. So we have to rely on our non-league schedule and our league schedule to get us prepared for moments like this. And I think more importantly, the big thing for us is trying to put pressure on them in practice, put them in some tough situations that we know we're gonna get into, against Hopewell. So yes, we don't have the playoff experience. Yeah, we don't have the experience as a whole. They are a more experienced team than us. But I know our younger guys and our older guys are going to be hungry to come out and prove people wrong. That they always have. And that's going to be the thing. Play with a chip on your shoulder, have fun. Remember, it's a game. At the end of the day, the sun always comes back up. We're going to leave it on the field, and that's what all as a coach I can ask from them.
It seems like if you want to make the deep playoff runs, you're gonna have to start traveling. How has the season been for you guys into traveling and just keeping that focus into when you get to the destination and just keep doing the same thing like you be doing at home?
Yeah, I think for us, every other year we make the trip to St. Henry down in Mac Country. And that's a 2-hour bus trip, we're treating it very similar to that. It's one of those things we talk about a lot. How well can you keep your focus on that long trip? You can take it as a bad thing, or you can take it as, we got some extra time to get locked in and understand what needs to get done. But to start the year, we actually went to Genoa, not as far, but another about hour 15, hour 20 bus trip. You can't prepare them for it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. We're at the point of the season now where, if you're not focused on what we need to get done, it's our season's going to be over. And I know our guys are going to be up to the task, to getting their mind right on that bus trip. But again, when we get off it, it's you got to show up and you got to put together 48 minutes of tough nosed football if you want to beat a good team like Hopewell.
And then do you have any other keys to this game on what you guys got to do to be successful and to move into next week?
We touched on a lot of those. The line of scrimmage battle, not making the mental mistakes, and I think a big one is going to be special teams. In games like this, special teams comes back huge. I know Hopewell's done a great job in the return game this year throughout. We're going to have to be on point, getting down the field, making plays on our coverage teams, and hopefully flipping fields. We want to start with some great field position and set our offense up for success and our defense up for success. So our special teams guys, they're going to have to be on point this week, in order to find success.
What is your message you want to send out to Blue Streaks Nation?
Yeah, I think I know we're gonna have a great, great group of fans come out. It's a long trip. We have a great community backing us all the way. It always say, when we tell our guys, it takes a community to make this all work, and we're very fortunate here. And for those, able to watch at home, just we appreciate all the support. This is an exciting time for our guys, and I'm really excited for this trip and the opportunity to play a team like Hopewell-Loudon.
All right, coach. We're excited to cover your game. This is gonna be a really great matchup, and we're excited to see what your boys can do this week, traveling over to Bascom. Thank you for your time sitting down for this interview, and if anything, we'll see you tomorrow.
I appreciate it, Connor. Take care.
All right, thank you.